Hey, Steeler Nation, this is Stryker. Looks like I'm good now. Sitting here in my COVID quarantine, you've got Stryker for the Steeler Nation Vidcast over here on your Steeler Nation Facebook, Twitter, and the other one, YouTube. So if you got any questions, go ahead and ask. We are the Steeler Nation Vidcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises, part of the Big Play Sports Network. I am in quarantine in a room in my home away from my family because I currently have COVID-19. I missed the football game this week. I'm sitting in bed for day 5 of sitting in bed and feeling better. At least my fever's broke, so hopefully I'll be up and about here soon, but I can still talk football. Steeler Nation, you got anything to say, go ahead and comment on whatever platform you're on. We'll have a conversation about this stuff. But first thing, at least, that I wanted to talk about is injuries. And fortunately, the Steelers came out of this game pretty injury-free. There was only one injury of note, and that was to Dan Moore, the left tackle. It looked like some stated he hurt his hip. That was ESPN when he first hurt. Another report came out that he hurt his back. Well, I'm not sure if it's his back or his hip. That should be coming out here soon, but we'll find that out. Hopefully it's not too serious because he's been playing awesome football. Also, it seems that James Washington has been missing some of the last game, and his snaps were limited, and it just came out that it's probably because his injury flared back up. So that groin that he's been dealing with, now he's going to have a full week off to be able to hopefully get that groin back in shape, because that's what it takes for groin injuries. You need time off. But at least the Steelers' injury situation is way better than the Cleveland Browns' injury situation. Let's start to touch base on that, because that is the only thing going on this week. Our rival, the Cleveland Browns, are playing the Denver Broncos, who we just played the previous week on Thursday Night Football, just in 2 short days. And they are slammed by the injury bug. Absolutely body slammed. Kind of like we were last year at the end of the year. Kind of like the Ravens were at the beginning of the year. But Kareem Hunt is now expected to miss a few weeks with his calf injury he just had in the loss. Chubb was already out with his calf injury that he got the week prior. They don't know if he's going to be ready to go the next couple weeks. You also have their rookie linebacker, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, however you say his name. He has a significant injury that states that there's probably going to be 4 to 6 weeks to his injury with a high ankle sprain. Baker Mayfield, which I think is the dumbest thing any organization can ever do, is force your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, to play football with a torn frickin' labrum. It doesn't matter if it's in your non-throwing shoulder. This is your franchise. This is the guy that's in every freaking commercial break for your care of this guy. Nope, not Cleveland. Trot him out there. Let him beat the crap out of himself. Well, maybe we win a game or two. But what happened? He got sacked by TJ's brother, JJ, put him down on that labrum again. Oh, no, he might be out for the year. Well, it's your own dumb fault for freaking playing him. You don't play a player that's injured. You don't play a player with an injury. I can't stand that crap. And that's all on the crappy Browns organization that they are for allowing them to even have Baker Mayfield walk back out on the field. Even after that, even when he went back down on the labrum, went into the blue tent, next drive, he's back out there again. You're playing with fire, Cleveland. And only the Browns organization would allow that to happen, because you're going to watch your franchise quarterback lose it on a tackle this year for years. And that's going to be the worst thing to happen to your city, since it's taken you, 20 years to find a franchise quarterback? They don't grow on trees, even when you're drafted in the top 10 every year, idiots. But this year, got to take care of what got you there, man. But he's still not the tip of the iceberg for what's rest of these injuries. Still got Odell Beckham coming down with an injury to his arm in the second quarter. He didn't return. Don't know whether or not he's going to come back. I mean, he doesn't have much incentive to come back, to tell you the truth, except to get his butt kicked by us. And then, obviously, Jarvis Landry was already missing a game. Starting tackles, Jack Conklin was already out, and Jedrick Willis Jr. So you've got this team just absolutely derailed by injuries this year. And now they're going into a football game against a team. We just saw the Denver Broncos, who's a solid team and a good team, and they're a physical team as well. So good luck to Cleveland. I know you got a mini bye coming up, but this mini bye isn't going to help a lot of these injuries that have already happened. Plus, this is an injured team going to play a game on 4 days rest, 3 days rest, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days rest to play on Thursday. Not enough time for any of these injuries to heal. Not enough for any normal injuries to heal from a normal football perspective, playing from a Sunday going to a regular Sunday. Like, this is just the worst possible scenario for Cleveland Browns fans and for Cleveland in general to be able to face injuries moving forward, because they could get banged up again in this game. Like, I won't be surprised to see players drop in this game. I don't want it. I'm not rooting for it. It's just something that happens. The only injury I'll ever root for in football is for Tom Brady till his career ends. I can't stand that asshole. But, I don't respect cheaters. That's not what I do. So how's it going? I mean, yeah, Chow Chow, I'm with you. Chow Chow Dad over on YouTube. Come on, man. How many QBs have the Cleveland Browns buried? I remember that list of, like, that laundry list that would just, like, hang down off the back of that mannequin with the couch jersey on it. I can't even remember, like, 16, 17, 18 names on that jersey for whoever they trot out there. Remember guys like Freeze? I mean, geez, like, it's just a rotating quarterback smorgasbord what they'd have over there, but none of them will work. Johnny Football. I mean, come on, man. Jeez, you screw up Manziel. You screw up Baker Mayfield, and there goes your next 10 years to finding a new quarterback, because that team can't even draft Ben Roethlisberger when he's on the board. Idiots. I mean, come on, man. How many good quarterbacks did they pass on, and how many turds did they draft? It's like none of them were actually NFL worthy. It seemed like. It's like, how do you screw up that many times? It's comes down to the organization. The organization doesn't have a good offensive line. The quarterbacks get thrown out there immediately. They're deer in headlights, completely rattles them, and they're in shell shock and going to the VA hospital for the rest of their career, because they've got to deal with the trauma and the PSD of having to face the Ravens and the Steelers defense twice a year. Poor kids, man. Poor kids. And at least I will give them props that their defense has at least gotten them to a point where they're actually respectful and somewhat feared, because their defense can deal damage. They hit hard. They pressure the quarterback. They're good against the run. They're a tough team to play against. So, but it's just a comedy of errors right now when it comes to what it's like to be in the front office of the Cleveland Browns. And just Chow, like you're saying too, that alone, you don't put your franchise quarterback on the field if he has a torn labrum or torn anything. You let him rest the F up, and you put him back out there, and you let your defense and your offensive running game ride you through the storm until he's ready to come back out full bore and do the best that he can, because he's not at 100%. He's not going to be at 100% all season. He already has a limited throwing arm, in my opinion. So if he still has to battle the torn labrum on the other side, it's going to affect his throwing, his mechanics, everything in general. So it's going to be really difficult to see him moving forward to try to get to that point. Going back to the Steeler game, guys, I mean, what do you think about the Seattle game? I mean, if anything else, I think the only reason why I'm still alive and didn't die of a heart attack with this COVID thing going on is because they found a way to win at the end, and the TJ Watt became the monster that he absolutely is. I mean, everybody at Steeler Nation, we were talking about this before. How can you give a defensive player quarterback money? Quarterbacks make quarterback money because they win you games. They are the reason that you win games sometimes. That's why they make the most on the roster. The reason why TJ Watt makes more money than any defensive player, he makes quarterback money, is because he wins you games. Case in point, Sunday night, overtime. No sacks going into overtime. He had a pass defense, knocked one down, feeling pretty unsure about himself. But what does he do? Big sack on their first drive, pushing them definitely away from even thinking about going for it or in field goal range. And then coming back the next drive for the play of the game, the strip sack on Geno Smith, tackling him like a lion tackling a gazelle, just seeing the fear in Geno Smith's eye. I'm getting tackled I'm going to be eaten by this lion because I can't get that ball. Rolling over to Bush. Bush finally figuring out which way to run with it. But fortunately, Forrest found the right way to run. He fell down. We fell down one more time, and bam, up goes the kick, hold, place, everything good. And Boz does it again for the Steelers, gives us the win. But TJ Watt actually gave us that win because he's the one that deserves that money. Pay the man. He'll be a Steeler for the next 5 years, guys. And he's just starting to scrape his prime. And he's already put up 2 should-have-been Defensive Player of the Year stats. This year, I was running his stats yesterday because I'm kind of a stacking. I'm a little bit of a stat geek, guys. I like to run the stats. But I was running the stats on TJ already at 7 sacks with 5 games played. I mean, if you're doing an easy projection, 5 to 15 is 21 sacks. And that's 17 games that we're playing. So 20 sacks is conservative for TJ Watt in the season. I thought with like 17 sacks, like a sack a game would be conservative. That's about what he's been averaging here these past couple of years for the games that he's in. He's getting about a sack a game. So 20 sacks would be a Steeler record. I think 16 and a half is probably the Steeler record, or 17. But 20 would definitely bust the record wide open. He'd definitely be in the talk for Defensive Player of the Year, which he should always be. And what up, Kenneth Beamer, Steeler Nation? Yeah, way to be, baby. TJ is a monster, man. And Juan Sizemore, good to see you again, Juan. Glad they won, but they must fix that run defense. And I'm with you too, Juan. They fixed it a little late. They thought that they were going to start. And you gotta put into context the game situation. And I understand it in context. So you're coming out of halftime, it's 14-0. They're starting with ball. Now, a coach or a team that is a little antsy, you're down by multiple scores, you're going to try to throw the ball to get back in the game. Now, Coach Carroll's a much smarter coach, though. Much smarter than we gave him credit for. And he came out, he's like, we just got to do it right. We're going to do it this way. We're going to switch to a combo blocking scheme. And that's what they did. And they were doing combo block against our nickel. You got no chance of getting to a running back if they're combo blocking on there. We've got 2 linemen. 2 linemen on our edge linebackers on the outskirts of the tackles. So you just take care of those 2 interior linemen. They're running up the middle every time. They're getting 8, 9, 10 yards a pop. It was a can of corn time for that rushing attack. And unfortunately, like, that sucked. But like from the context of being up by 14 points, yeah, you're going to expect them to pass. You're going to expect them to pass more. And there were some opportunities where the Steelers should have gotten them off the field. I mean, they had a check down pass on 3rd and short, 5 yards ahead of the stick, 3 guys ahead of him, and he bounced 3 bad missed tackles, absolutely horrible angles. And the guy rips off another like 20 some yards. I mean, it exasperates the point of what that defense was, but that nickel defense was set up to get off the field in that situation when it brought up 3rd down, and they should have gotten off the field. But it was frustrating to watch, and they didn't fix it until after their first 2 touchdowns when they started bringing out 4 down linemen, 5 down linemen, or 5 people on the line of scrimmage to nip that shit in the bud, so they couldn't even do it in overtime, which was great because we shut them down, and we shut them down when it mattered, guys. You got to remember that. Shut them down when it mattered. Last couple drives of the game, overtime, they couldn't get to the end zone. They couldn't get close to the end zone. They did kick a field goal, but they didn't get close to the end zone, and we ended up winning the game because of it. So loved that aspect of it. Owen Holt over on Facebook. What's going on, Owen? Great game, but yes, lots to work on. Run defense and the offense needs to get it together. I'm with you there too, Owen, and that's why this is a great time of the year. It's the bye. And you want to have the bye. Usually you want to have the bye late in the year. Late in the year gives you the best chance of being healthy later in the year to go ahead and execute and do well. But when you start the season with adversity, I like the bye earlier in the year. And that's what happened this year. Starting 1-3. I was like, the bye couldn't come quick enough. I want the bye week 5 at that point. when we're 1-3. But fortunately, we got to week 6. We stayed the course. We were able to get to 500, which is huge. Being at 500 now with a whole week to prepare and get the offense, which is starting to click. They're starting to do good things on offense. So I think the bye is now coming at a right time. Our health is now back to nearly 100%. Might even start hearing whispers of Tuitt in the building and maybe Tuitt starting to come back. But those are the types of things that I'm expecting to see now here soon. Jerry Johnson, how you doing there, Jerry? This show reminds me why I'm so damn proud to be a part of Steeler Nation. Oh, Jerry, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you too, man. And that's fine because we're having issues with Facebook on a lot of the casts that we're having so far. But we'll make sure to reshare the regular podcast for DK Pittsburgh Sports as well on Facebook, because I know we do that on YouTube, and that's how they get shot over there. But thanks for the kudos, Jerry. I appreciate it. Rad Rob, friend of the show. Great to see you as always, man. Your positivity is good, Stryker, but truth is better. Truth is the Steelers would have lost to the Seahawks if their starting quarterback had played. 2020 Steelers had softest Steelers schedule ever. Agree. I'm not going to discredit that. I'm not. It's a good thing to summarize or to say that could happen, but I can't disagree with that. But you also have to play against the players that are on the field. And Steelers fans have to know this firsthand because, man, the injury bug has been kicking the shit out of us for the last 2 years. And teams have gotten to play us when we were soft. But now we're getting to play some teams when they're soft. And that freaking helps. And any win helps, especially now at this time of the year where the Steelers are still trying to find their identity and they're trying to get in the games. Look at the Ravens, man. Ravens were decimated with injuries. They couldn't really do anything offensively. Defense was in flux, and they're finding ways to win games, getting lucky to win games. They're lucky to win 4 games in a row there. So lost their first, won 4 in a row, need a NFL record kick to beat the Detroit. But hey, what are they at now? Now they're starting to click. Now they're back. Now and this is what we need as Steelers. It's okay to win. There's nothing wrong with winning when you're bad, especially if you're getting better every week. And I do see some incremental increases here. I see the offensive line starting to click. I see Najee Harris starting to play with a little bit more confidence. And that's fun to watch because he's a brand new running back and really, really fun to see him just blossom because his running style is perfect for this offensive line because this is a brand new offensive line. They're learning how to play football. And Najee Harris has the ability to break tackles, to knock 2 people coming at him, to be able to do a spin move, stiff arm, knock one guy into the other guy and get another 4 yards out of it. I mean, Connor's just spinning and getting his ass kicked at that point. This is a special running back. He's getting yardage that no other back would get under this style, other than like an elite all-time back like a Barry Sanders or an Adrian Peterson, somebody that can manufacture running just through his own talent. And we're starting to see that with Najee Harris. And we're starting to see his talent catching the ball too, getting that receiving touchdown behind that great play call in the red zone. Red zone starting to score touchdowns. We couldn't score touchdowns last year in the red zone, guys. We're scoring touchdowns now. Still, it's a different offense, better offensive line. We're getting better. We're younger. And we're starting to get healthier. Zach Banner's going to be back here after the bye. So I'm happy with that as well. And and I know you said between second and third. We'll play behind 4th, 5th, 6th. Hell, we played the entire 2019 season with our 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks because we traded our 2nd string Dobbs away that season at the beginning of season before Ben went down. Our starter had number 3 Rudolph and number 4 Duck Hodges finish off that season for us. Turnabout's fair play. We should get a whole season to play in everybody's 3rds and 4ths. After the crap they gave us without giving us a bye last year, every time we play a team, they should be like, they're not allowed to play their starting quarterback. The Steelers didn't even get a bye last year. That was unfair. I'm surprised that the bye week didn't get COVID and the Steelers aren't just coming back out to practice this week. Screw them, man. Screw the NFL. Fuck you, Goodell. It's just the way it is. So yeah, I'm with you too, Owen. Perfect time for the bye, man. We have to, it has to come sometime. And it's weird. Like I always find myself like, what do I do this week? Oh wait, I can go out and enjoy a nice hike in the foliage and maybe go hunt or maybe go do something or maybe get out of my bed since I hopefully won't be sick with COVID this weekend. So, but yeah, tell me, Steeler Nation, what are you guys going to do with your off time this weekend? Because I don't have to watch the Browns. Going to see the Browns on Thursday. I mean, yeah, I'll probably check the Ravens game out, but I still don't know when that game's being played. Chow, Dad. Well, I got to get your comment on this. Nearly lost my mind. Whole end of regulation debacle by the refs. Refs trying to influence the outcome really again. And it happened again. I remember it happened just a few years ago, too, where they stopped play before it was I think it was before the end of a half to give the other team a chance to kick the field goal, and they did score the points at the end of that half. And that incensed me, too. But in all reality, that they did get the playoff with a second on the clock. It was a second on the clock, and it would have gone to review, and they would have easily said there was a second one. So that aspect of it doesn't piss me off enough as much, though. But Tomlin is right, and Chow, you are right as well. There was no way on God's green earth that refereeing crew should have even thought to stop that game, because the catch was a catch, the fumble was a fumble, and the recovery was a recovery. And there was no question about all three of those things. So, what was there to stop to look at? Yeah, they might have gotten something down through, but you could wave that off. It's like, there's nothing to look at. We saw it. It was right here on the sideline, well within the play. Nobody touched out of bounds. Everything was good. And, but that play, that fumble itself, and that's something that we fall short of. Yeah, we're pissed off at the refs. But let's remember that Pierre forced a fumble on a sideline throw to DK and knocked that ball back in bounds, because that ball's going out of bounds. The refs would have been a moot point. They would have ran another play, or they could have run another play, because they would have had about like 11 seconds left. But just take to account that Pierre made that play to make it to if they would have landed on him for an extra 2 seconds, yes, game would have been over. They would have Chuck Bednarik to that, and that's an old 1960s Philadelphia Eagles record or reference when he's laying on Al Michaels in the championship game just for an extra couple seconds to seal the deal, and he says this game is effing over, and that's what he's known for in the city of Pittsburgh. I met him a couple times, real good cat. But that's what we should have done as a team. We should have been standing in his way. We should have been obscuring him just a little bit, just maybe land on him a little bit, hold on to it a little bit more, make sure he's down for that extra maybe 2 seconds, because that would have been the difference of the game. That could have done it. But I want to go back to him forcing that fumble too. And guys, you're seeing this a lot. People punching at footballs, and that was a point of emphasis by our defensive back coach this year. And it was all through training camp. Punch at the football as you're tackling. Punch at the football as you're wrapping. Bring the hammer down when you're wrapping. And it's putting balls on the ground. We've seen it happen a few times this year. We saw it happen in the preseason too. I marked that as well a couple times when that happened. I was like, wow, it's like this coaching style is working. It's something that the Ravens do. And now it's something that we're starting to do, because in the NFL, getting possessions is better than having a great defense. Always. If you get that extra possession, that is the best defense, because the defense is no longer there. Boom. Ball to the other team. Up. Kick the field goal. Win the game. Done. That's what you do. That's what you do now. It's awesome. Good question here from Juan Sizemore. Do you think Zach Banner will be back after the bye? Yes, I do. Full well. I'm not sure of his capacity yet, but I think he will be back. And I'm going to shoot him a message, because we do chat a little bit back and forth. I like to give him respect him and things, especially everybody's trying to reach out to him and see what's going on. But now that he's got a week to breathe, I'm going to shoot him a quick note, and I'll have it probably by the podcast this weekend to see what he says. But I'm pretty sure he was damn close to coming back this past week, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be active moving forward. So he'll be nice to see back on the sideline and in the games and on the field too. So yeah, but if you want my inside look on the guy that's been on our show 3 times, I'll say yes, he's ready to come on back. I've got some more questions here and comments from Rad Rob. Real Steelers fans know that the only season that matters is the postseason. Both Nolan Cowher took bad teams and built them into postseason champs. Tomlin built a postseason. Well, he did win a couple postseasons for us as well. It took us to 2 Super Bowls, and I believe he can do it again. Problem with the locker room, and we had all the talent with that team in the late teens, man. The problem was like they just weren't winners. Antonio Brown, Bell, they just weren't winners. And that hurt us. and that sucked. But I think this team is built a lot more closely, more cohesive unit, better locker room. You don't have anybody speaking out anymore like they used to. You don't have any more Twitter a-holes like AB. So, that's the type of thing that at least that I like to say. But at least let's go to your next point, though. I do love Tomlin, the man, though. He should be an okay Steelers team president, just not as a game decision maker in any way. You can have your opinion on that. And then there's nothing wrong. A lot of Steeler Nation agree with you. I like Tomlin a lot. There's, the aspects and the things that we have to deal with throughout the season. Like, he's not a bad game manager. It's not like we're losing on because we didn't have enough time on the clock, or that we got tackled in bounds and the clock runs out, or we didn't have the timeouts to stop the clock. We're losing because we're getting our asses kicked thus far, and a lot of it's because of execution. It's the way it is. Thanks for all your diligent output, Stryker. Thank you for also letting me share my Steeler skepticism anytime, Rob. See, this is the Steeler Nation show. The Steeler Nation vidcast is our chance to vent. And even if you have a contrasting view, I am open to hearing it. I am open to discussing it because I am not an asshole. Like, I've been a fan so long that I've seen every point of view, every single point of view. I mean, I've been around for all the 70s teams, but I didn't really get into football till like 85. I can remember like the 79 Super Bowl, but I remembered more of eating like mushroom pizza than I remembered of the game, other than my dad swearing at Bradshaw for turning the ball over every 5 seconds in the first half, it seemed. But that's just the way, it is. Like, you're going to hear the good, you're going to hear the bad. I remember when people absolutely hated Cowher and wanted Cowher run out of town. Hell, 4 AFC championship games at home, couldn't win a single one. Run him out on a rail. Why are they keeping him around? Hangs around, wins a Super Bowl. Bam. That's why you keep him around. Hangs around, wins a one-loss season before winning the Super Bowl. So you don't always want to pull the ripcord too quick on these coaches, because Steelers know what they're doing, and they are smart people, and they are great managers of men. Both Cowher, Noel, and Tomlin, all excellent managers of men, and all the players that play under those 3 coaches have nothing but respect for them. Albeit like Bradshaw has a little bit more of like shell shock respect in the aftermath. Like, took him a while and a lot of therapy to get past his aggression toward Coach Noel at the time. He wanted more of a father figure, and Noel wasn't having any of that. He was giving him the tough love the whole way. So, interesting stuff. Rob again agreed about the zebra. Travesty of justice indication that pro sports may really be somewhat rigged after all. OT equals overtime. Yep. If only a game needs more ads, more money. Yeah, I mean, and that's the interest, and that's the reason why rules are made in the first place. You're trying to make the game as close as possible. Everybody 500 to keep everybody involved, everybody interested. And now I'll give you my biggest conspiracy theory of the weekend. You guys want to hear this? I'm off the rails. I got my tinfoil hat on and my Q compendium going off on this one. But I watched the end of that game in England in the morning. The Jacksonville Jaguars playing the who were they playing? Miami. That's right. They were playing Miami Dolphins. Jacksonville their kicker hasn't made a kick all season, and lines up for a 52-yarder at the end of regulation. Now, keep in mind, they're kicking in a dome. Like, Wembley's covered. They're in a dome. He kicks the ball, and it's veering off right, wide right of the uprights. Yet then starts to move left and come back in through and barely skates inside for 3 points. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, the only time I've ever seen a kick move like that was like watching games at Soldier Field when you get that insane crosswind. That's like the only time I've seen a football move like that. And the ball wasn't spinning, not spinning enough to be able to be like one of those bend it kicks where it comes back in because it's spinning. But that was the craziest ball movement I've ever seen in a game kicked in a dome, on a kick that was, even when it was kicked, the announcer's like, nope. And Mount Michaels, I think it was Michaels or something. And then it comes back in, he's like, what? Yup. and so if you want a conspiracy theory, the NFL has figured out a way to make sure if a kick is good or not. That's the conspiracy theory, because I think we've had more misses this season than any other season ever in history. I think just a couple weeks ago, that was like more kicks than any kick ever, but more kicks missed in 1 week than any kick ever. So something's going on, and you might be onto something, Rad Rob. We'll get our tinfoil hats on together there, and we'll have a good powwow about that. But yeah, you just never know how it's going to go. Juan Sizemore coming back. Love seeing the O-line growing. Always said, give Ben a little time, and he's still got it. And you're right, 100% there, Juan. And it's the rookies. I mean, you got to let the rookies grow. Green had one of his best games last week. Green is really starting to be a powerhouse now. Dotson put on his big boy pants last game. Love seeing him back there again. Now, Turner was surprising because, like, I thought he'd be just the status quo, but Turner looked like he was the weak link last week. Chooks was doing well. Moore was doing well. And hell, Haig came in to make sure nobody even got to the quarterback after Moore goes out. So I couldn't be happier with the line play last week, especially with the adversity. This is a young team. This is a young offensive line. They're still learning. They still haven't gotten Banner. Banner's going to be the most talented guy coming in here. I mean, I know I've been singing his praises as long as he's healthy. Guy is a people mover and an earth mover. So he's going to be coming in here, and he's going to be able to do the work that we need for this running game to become even more successful than it already is. And Rad Rob adding again, too. I wish Tomlin built postseason champs, but he did not. I was a big Tomlin fan the first 5 years and argued against those who said Tomlin was only winning because of Cowher's players. Now I admit I was wrong. I don't. I think it's a lot of times with postseason, it's a lot of luck, a lot of matchups, and you have to be playing outside of the New England Patriots era. The New England Patriots owned the Super Bowl. Just get over it. Like, you're not the Patriots. We are not Bill Belichick. We are not Tom Brady, who's probably the greatest quarterback to ever play, which hurts me to my core saying something like that. But a guy that's won 7 Super Bowls, been to 10, I mean, come on. How else are you going to get to the Super Bowl? You got to go through New England. We weren't going through New England. No other team goes through New England. So don't feel so bad about ourselves or blame Tomlin because of it, because New England fucking owns us. New England owned the league for 20 years. Absolutely owned the league. And now, so it is what it is. You got to get, it's just like, you got to think of that in the mindset of 70s players, that back when the Oilers had an amazing team, an amazing running back, and they couldn't even sniff a championship. Couldn't even sniff out a championship because of the Steelers. Look at Oakland and how good they were. And they only got 1 championship in the 70s. And that was because the Steelers were too injured to compete with them in the AFC Championship game. Steelers knocked them out. Madden doesn't even get a Super Bowl ring. That's something else. That's something you got to think about too. It happens to be how teams are put together, how the dynasties are built for those eras. And we're just on the wrong side of it. We're very, very, very good, but we were going up against the best, and nobody's going up against the best and beating them. Nobody. I think Manning came back and won 1 of those games. And that was it. That was like the only team to give them a run. And yeah, Baltimore might have beaten New England. They didn't do anything. They beat New England in those playoffs. Those weren't the ones where they go on to win Super Bowls. But it's just the matchups, and you got to play the people that are ahead of you. Chow Dad, love this one. Shout out to special teams. Boz makes it look easy, but he's got a new holder. You're right, and Presley Hoven the third, and a new long snapper and Kuntz, looking like they've been doing it for years, and they have. And that's honestly, I have been nervous watching special teams and having that in the back of my mind too, Chow. And it's like, are they going to mess this one up? Is it going to be okay? And yeah, PH3 is having his yips, like not his yips, but every once in a while he's going to have a bad kick. And it's about once every other game so far, but he's still a rookie. But when he kicks that ball, man, he kills the crap out of it. And he was down in that thing inside the 20, inside the 10 consistently. I mean, that's what you want. You want your punter to get it inside the 20, and he's like more interested in getting it inside the 10. And I love seeing it out of that guy. And then plus when he has to flip the field, he's doing it and still getting it inside the 20. So, I can't hate his strong leg. That's why we kept him. He's younger, he's cheaper, and he is the new kicker for the Steelers. So good job and good shout out there, Chow Dad. I love seeing that, and good love to special teams. Because the special teams doesn't always get the love, but they deserve it sometimes. They really do. Again, too, Rad Rob adding on. Additionally, Tomlin had Cowher's coaches and that Cowher's players were why Steelers had postseason success until Tebow's lost. See, and this is an argument, though. Well, Coach T's coaching strength is his fatherliness. Okay, being a mentor, I see that. But he removed. Okay. I am not a proponent of any argument with winning with anyone's players, because I can make the argument that Cowher only won his first 6 playoffs because of Chuck Noll's players. And I can make that argument. And it's a dumb freaking argument, because Bill Cowher didn't win in the playoffs with his players the year after he won the Super Bowl. He had a 500 season. Then enter Tomlin. Tomlin didn't do it in his first season. They might have been Cowher's players walking into training camp, but as soon as he started throwing them and making the veterans practice hard, vets are like, what the hell's going on? Why do we have to practice? He kicked the crap out of that whole team his first year there. And unfortunately, we got run down by injuries toward the end of that first season. Second season went much lighter on the team. Veterans got vet day offs, got rest, didn't have to push them as hard in training camp, knew who they were. And then moving forward, everything became a status quo, and it's Tomlin's team. It's Tomlin's team, guys. A locker room that was borderline revolt back when he first started, because they're Cowher's players, became Tomlin players during that season. And by the next season, they were 100% sold in. By the time they had their adversity in that Eagles game, week 4, week 5, when they got sacked like 9 times, 10 times, and I watched that game and I'm like, there's no way this team's winning the Super Bowl this year. There's no way. It's the worst offensive line I've ever seen. They win a Super Bowl. They win a Super Bowl with Tomlin's players, with Tomlin's team. And that's the only way I'm going to say about that, because I can't make that argument for any franchise. Once you get your other coach out there and you start implementing your coaches and your plays, yeah, he kept LeBeau, but that's smart of him to keep LeBeau. I mean, LeBeau, godfather of the zone blitz. He invented a style that counteracts the run and shoot offense and the West Coast offense. And back then, those were the offenses that killed you. So, or the ones that were the most effective. So kudos to him for keeping and for keeping Dick Hope, who'd been on the staff since Chuck Noll, running backs coach, and was an old running back for the Steelers. I think he had 70 years of tenure with the Steelers. Dick Hope, old running back coach. And that guy stayed on until he was ready to retire. Nobody fired Dick Hope. Guy was just a consummate professional. Didn't matter who his head coach was. He was going to do his job. He was going to make sure his running backs were ready. And his running backs were always ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, it's not a negative when you maintain and you keep shithead, like idiot, like the points on us every game, then yeah, that would have been dumb. And you could the Steelers to keep that coach. It's like, no, he picked the right coaches to keep, went out and got the other coaches to make his team successful, especially promoting Bruce Arians. That was a smart move, because Bruce Arians was well past the promotion at that point. He was already pretty far along. Tomlin's younger than the guy. Tomlin was younger than just about every single coach on that roster. And you had Dick LeBeau, you had Munchak, you had, oh gosh, who's the other? I always get the other offensive coordinator, the one right after Arians. I always mess his name. The old Steeler, ball boy. You guys helped me out the last time, but yeah, he used 3 other head coaches in the room with him. Never once did you hear one of those former head coaches say, Tomlin shouldn't have done that. I would have done something different. Not freaking once. That speaks to a man's leadership. A man younger than you that's a head coach that had his job less than you when you were already a head. Any locker room issues on that. So remember that, Steeler Nation, when you're trying to think of Tomlin as a coach, as a manager of men, and as a person that cultivates talent and coaches around him to do the best to make this team as good as it can be. Because really, it takes a special type of person to do that, and he has it. He absolutely has it. There we go. Rad Rob again. LeBeau, Munchak, Arians are all better coaches than Tomlin. So, and I disagree on them, all 3 of them. So Mike T passively aggressively allowed their early exits. Tomlin is likable until honestly you look deeper with unbiased eyes. Well, LeBeau was kind of at the end of his coaching career anyway. He still didn't really maintain a defensive coordinator position after he left the Steelers. Did a couple like defensive administration positions, but it wasn't even called an assistant. I forget what the actual term was. Munchak is left because his daughter had a child in Denver. He's got a lot of friends in Denver. He wants to be with his family. He's an old dude. He's done being a professional head coach. He's absolutely done. So he just wants to be an assistant coach. He wants to do it next to his family so he can watch his grandkids grow up. And kudos to the Steelers for letting him go on that. Arians, I don't know if he was pushed out the door, but the Steelers were definitely done seeing Big Ben get his ass kicked. And that might have been pushed by the administration as well. And that's why we brought in the next coach, which got that ball out in a quick times. And then the offense started really improving. The offense really improved after that. So you can't be upset about that. But kudos to his first Super Bowl. He's down with that. And honestly, you tell me this. Do you think Arians would have won a Super Bowl without Tom Brady? I don't think he would have. I think if Tampa Bay didn't get Tom Brady, he would not be a Super Bowl winning coach. But I'm glad he is a Super Bowl winning coach because he deserves to be. But that's something else to think about. And that's something else, too, that's linked to the how good a coach is. Usually go by record, but a lot of times a Hall of Fame head coach is linked to a Hall of Fame receiver or Hall of Fame quarterback. Very rarely does a Hall of Fame head coach ever linked to two. I know Shula was. Shula had Greasy and he had Marino. And I know Walsh was with Young and Montana. But outside of those guys, you don't get a Hall of Fame coach linked to more than one Hall of Fame quarterback. And really, you don't get a Hall of Fame coach without a Hall of Fame quarterback. So it's just the way the NFL works, guys. That's how you get success. You get success with great quarterbacks. Coaches coach, players play, and if you have a great quarterback, you're going to have a great coach behind him, or everybody's going to think it's a great coach. Because what does everybody think of Bill Belichick right now? He had Cam Newton last year. Cam Newton won an MVP. What's wrong with his coaching style? Why can't he repeat that same kind of stuff and win just like he did back when he had Brady? He did find that one year when he had was it Castle that year? I think that he was down. Brady was down with his knee injury for the year. But they had a really successful year that year, and I think they missed the playoffs with a 10-win season that season, 10 or 11-win season, and they were still missed the playoffs on tie breaks. But sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles, and that's the way you go with your head coaches. Your head coaches are great head coaches that they have a great Hall of Fame quarterback underneath them, and that's the way it is. And if the Steelers find a way to bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers next year, there's another Hall of Fame quarterback. Expect this Hall of Fame coach to have more Hall of Fame numbers out of his Hall of Fame quarterback if that happens. And I'd love to see that happen. I would absolutely love to see them go out and get Aaron Rodgers or Wilson. I mean, I love Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson would be my number one quarterback right now to start a team behind, because I know I could have him for 10 years and I could have a great defense and he would hit the talent that I have around him and know the plays to call, know the right spots, not miss open receivers. That's the guy I want on my team, would be Russell Wilson. But number two, I'd be happy with Aaron Rodgers as well. Not sure who you guys would be happy with. But I love this discussion. This is a great discussion. Love it. Todd Haley, thank you. I don't know why Todd Haley just keeps getting I'm repressed. Like I repress Todd Haley in my mind because I just don't want to. I loved what he did for the team. He still frustrated me with his play calling, yet our offense was as productive as it has ever been in in the entire history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Our offense never put up that many points or yardage than it did under Todd Haley. Yet I couldn't stand the guy. I absolutely couldn't stand the guy. And Rad Rob again, Art Ready the Two, bamboozled LeBeau and Mike T went along with the lying Steelers narrative that he retired. Ditto Bruce Arians. Arians only twice as many Steelers Super Bowl rings than Tomlin. I'm not in the room. I can't say. It would be foolish to me to say what was inside of the Rooney's heads. All I know is he didn't run them out of town. All these guys, their contracts were up. And when contracts are up with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the front office thinks of What is the next step? Do we want to bring this guy back, or do we need to go another direction? With Arians, it was the right move. Do we want to have Arians back? Arians got us to 2 Super Bowls. Do we want to have him back? Well, he's getting our franchise quarterback killed. We can't have him getting murdered here for these next. He's not going to last another 5 years. But maybe he didn't last 5 years. We might have gotten the Super Bowl 2 more times. I don't know. We're speculating at this point. But it was the end of his tenure. And I can understand the Rooney saying we don't want to see Big Ben end up on a stretcher, ending his career in 2015. And right now we're talking about it in 2022. And he's still playing because of that decision, because of bringing in Haley and allowing Arians to move on. And Arians picked the right spots too. I mean, going to Indy coach Irsay having a cancer, and then him becoming essentially the head coach that season, having a great year, then getting his chance out there, and when it comes up again, now he's a head coach of Cardinals, and now wrapping around to Tampa Bay. So I can't be happier for him and his path, because he's done the hard work and he's done the legwork. So, I can't say anyone was ever lying in that respect. Bruce Arians. Well, we talked about Bruce Arians, and the same thing too with LeBeau. LeBeau he was an old guy. I mean, he's in his late 70s, and he looks young, but he never became a coach, another head coach after that. He didn't promote. He didn't laterally slide. He was just an advisor. He was a defensive advisor, essentially, for Tennessee for a bit, and then he was out of the league. So, it is what it is. Over to Juan. I believe we're going on a run. Nice winning streak coming. I am with you there, and I can feel it because the team is starting to click. Yeah, we had a defensive letdown at the end of the game. The offense starting to score early is nice because it had been years before we saw the offense scoring early. But we got to start. We got to keep having that going too, because that goes to show your preparation for your games is usually on the offensive coordinator, and they script the 10 or so plays to see how they work. I'm actually reading Cowher's book here while I'm stuck in bed, Heart and Steel, the Bill Cowher story. And Bill Cowher also used to script the first 10 plays, which I never knew about him. And they were situational plays, like, first and second downs, not necessarily third downs, because third down you might have to act or react to what happened the first couple plays. But when you're still in your first and second down sets, these plays are plays to set up the rest of the game. How is the defense reacting when we put out this base set, this positional grouping? Expect that the defense will do this, so we'll do this instead. And that is the way smart coaches work. And it seems like Canada does a little bit more game planning, because with Fichtner, we didn't even get close to scoring our first drive the entire time Fichtner was an offensive coordinator. Now with Matt Canada, we at least have 2 first drive touchdowns. We're scoring a lot more in the first half. And I know it's tough with just implementing a new system with a lot of these rookies, but these are 4 rookies on offense that are going to be growing in this system. By year 2, year 3, this is going to be a tough team to beat. It's going to be a tough offensive line to go up against. And it's one that I know that the Ravens are built to stop the run, and Cleveland's built to stop the run, and we all have running teams as well. But these are going to be great matchups moving forward down the road. As long as we get a quarterback and get the right quarterback, I think it's going to work out for us in the long run. Brad Robb, again, Arians won multiple NFL Head Coach of the Year awards after Rooney. The 2, Mike Tomlin lies about mad up retirement. I'll at least give you props on that comment. It did make me chuckle. I did love that. But yes, Arians was also put in situations where that was a emotional situation. The Steelers are expected to win. Steelers are absolutely expected to win. And it's a bad mind. Look at Noel. Look at Cowher. Like, did any of those guys ever win Coach of the Year? It's like the Steelers are just expected to win. They win Super Bowl. They don't give a shit about Coach of the Year. They give a shit about Lombardies. That's what their award is that they hang their hat on at night when they go to bed. They want that extra Lombardi. They don't care about the Coach of the Year. That stuff will come. And I still think Tomlin's best coaching year was 2019 when Ben went down. He kept that team together. He kept that locker room together. They didn't revolt. Any other Ravens locker room revolted in their three win season. Hell, you thought Harbaugh almost got run out on a rail that year because their locker room was all against what he was doing. But he hung around for another year and got the locker room back. And that's one thing that Tomlin's never done. He's never lost his locker room. But props to Arians for getting those Coach of the Years. His job there as the interim coach in Indy was an excellent job. It was already a talented team. I mean, he was winning with Irsay's players, so directly because he's the interim head coach. So there you can make the argument for it. But way to get that Coach of the Year, stealing the head coach of the year award from Irsay because he had cancer. Love that though, Rad Rob. I love the comments though. Munchak could have been offered all flights to Denver being paid for. Could visit to the other daughter too. No, it's different than that though. Steelers should have given Munch a raise, assistant head coach. He was, he was already essentially the assistant head coach. He wanted to leave. He came to the Steelers and wanted to leave. And that's, you can't keep a guy that doesn't want to be there. And it's wrong. If you think like, yeah, we'll fly him out there every week, you don't. Being a coach is a full-time, it's over. I'm reading the Cowers book. It's like 80 hours isn't enough. Those guys are constantly in the heads of the books, watching film, working on players, working on technique to try to get their players as good as they can be. And you can't be a grandfather from across the country while you're an assistant head coach. But if you live in town and you go home at night, you can still be a grandfather every night if you want to be. And that's why he did it. And kudos to him too. He put family over team, and I understand that. And Steeler fans, you got to get one other thing, another myth out of your head. I want you to do research right now. I want you to go on the internet, look up the years that Munchak was the head coach. Or sorry, not head coach, but the offensive line coach. Then I want you to cross-reference that with how good our rushing was those years. I don't think we broke 20th in the league for all 4 years that he was our offensive line coach. That's something that we forget. We were a better blocking team. He didn't help us in the run game. He didn't help us in the run game at all, which is funny. And it's something that we forget about. But he was a good coach. He was a good motivator of men. But he did that as a family reason. I'm not throwing that on the Steelers. Broncos was a lateral move, with the Steelers should have offered the moon to counter. Mike Munchak designed all the run plays. Okay, you can throw that on Munchak because we had like a 20th ranked rushing team then. So there you go. So yeah, we should have done more to keep that mediocre coach in house because Steeler fans liked him. I'm with you on that. No, I'm just kidding. That's fun. You know me. I love firing up Steeler Nation on our vidcast here. This is fun. Juan Sizemore, jumping on your conspiracy wagon. Here's mine. Yes, the league hates Ben. Last year should have been comeback player of the year. Yeah, he should have at least gotten a talk about it. But nope, took Dax in Dallas. Everyone is raving. Big Ben never gets respect. No, and he's not. And it came from his problems off the field with the rape allegations. That's when the NFL turned its back on Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger was a media darling. He had chunky soup ads. He was all over, promoting things. And then rape allegations come up. And then he chooses to take the punishment before having the NFLPA have his back to go through the process. So since he took the punishment, he was now, and I said it at the time, even when it happened, I said, even if he didn't rape these people, he is now going to be a rapist convicted in the court of public opinion, just because he's taking the 6-game suspension, which was knocked down to 4, but he took the 6-game suspension, and then the arbitration knocked it to 4, for the press revolving around the rape allegations. And all of the NFL still holds it against him. All of the people that are still reporters still have that in the back of their mind. And that's who they think about when they think of Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, the rapist. No, I didn't. Fuck that guy. I'm not giving him a vote for MVP. I get a vote for MVP. I'm not giving him a vote for MVP. No, he raped a girl. Then that's it. He was convicted in the court of public opinion, whereas Kobe Bryant can come back after his and win MVPs and stuff too by switching his number. Maybe Ben should have switched his number. I don't know. But that is what happened. Ben will never get it. The only way Ben's going to have the last laugh is if he's standing on the podium hoisting the Lombardi. and that is it. And he nearly did it in 2010 after those allegations initially hit. But yeah, and if he would have done it that year, it might have been going a long way to kind of change his perspective or change the way he was viewed. But he definitely became a different man. And I'll share a quick story too on the team or on the cast. And he told me, Stryker, I said, what's the difference between Ben then and Ben now? And he said, Stryker, I covered Ben his whole career. Ben, was very tough to deal with up until 2010. But after that Super Bowl, he grabbed me and he pulled me aside. And he apologized to me. And he said, you will never have that same person talking to you ever again. I apologize for my behavior that you've had up until this point in your career, but from this moment forward, you will have nothing but my respect. And to answer your questions. So that is something that Ben did in his growth process. He took a lot longer to grow. Big Ben was a big kid. Took him longer to grow into a big man. And he's a big man now. He really is. Big family man, taking care of his family, taking care of the community, buying canines every time he goes to an opposing team's field, buys a new canine for that opposing team's city's police force. It's huge stuff that we don't talk about. But it's stuff that he doesn't want the credit. He's the one you're going out and promoting the stuff that he's doing. He does helping the homeless here at home in Pittsburgh too. He just had a video go out with that too on Twitter. So he's still doing his work, man. He's putting it in, and he's a good dude. And it took him a long time to become a good dude, but I think the character of the guy now is as good as anybody that's ever been in the Steelers organization at this point right now. Easily. Brooke, how you doing, Brooke? Brooke Greenwood over there on YouTube. Do you think Anthony Miller will play after the bye week? Good question, and thank you very much. I had Anthony Miller interviewed him before the season started, back when we initially picked him up as a futures player, right around when minicamp started in May. But I like him. I thought he was a good, talented receiver out of Buffalo. And when I was looking at his stats and talking with him about it, he is more of a straight line speed guy, got a lot of height, and I like that about him. So he kind of lends himself to being like that Z receiver type that we have in Pittsburgh, which is currently the position that Chase Claypool plays. It's also the position that James Washington is best suited for. But there is another spot where I think that he could play, and that big slot position is a place that he did also play some at Buffalo, where they'd line him up in the slot and then they'd run a 9 with him straight up the middle of the field. Nobody could keep up with his speed, because if you're running from the slot and you're running a 9 route, that means you might be having a free safety on you if he read it right, but you're usually either having a linebacker or a slot corner on you, and you're going to be faster than both of those guys. So I'd like to see that integrated if they bring him in, but I think they'd probably be more apt to bring up Sims, who used to be the old Washington slot receiver and returner, but he's kind of like almost like the same type of receiver as Ray McLeod. But those are your options right now, unless they go off and they grab somebody in free agency here and kind of get them up to speed in that off week. That's a possibility too. Could Larry Fitzgerald land in Pittsburgh? Like, that would be something I wouldn't mind seeing. But I do like Anthony Miller's makeup. I think he's talented enough to play in this league. I just think right now the Steelers have too many Z receivers for him to get a spot on the team right yet. But we'll see what they do, and we'll see if they see him as being a better option at maybe that big slot position than I'm giving him credit for. And let's see. Arians won 2 Steelers Lombardis, while Tomlin only one. Tomlin and Art made up. LeBeau and Arians retired unvarnished lies about it. Confirmed that they're nope, they're not lies. There's no way the Steelers organization would lie about Bruce Arians or Dick LeBeau. The character on those guys and the way that they still smile walking into our building, still come back to alumni nights. Dick LeBeau still in the house last weekend. Come on, man. No, they wouldn't come back if the Steelers organization was like the Dallas Cowboys lying to get people out of the building. And sure, you can hang that other Steelers Lombardi onto Arians when he was the quarterback's coach. That's great. Yeah, that's great. Sure. I mean, why not? A Super Bowl ring is a Super Bowl ring, and it's type of problems you got to deal with when you've got an excellent organization that's used to going to the Super Bowl, like Pittsburgh Steelers, and all 3 of their head coaches in the Super Bowl era. Brandon Wallace, You're the man, Stryker. Hope you're feeling better. Just clicking in. Just get healthy over the bye. Get back to it. Banner McFarland, continue to feed Najee. Excellent take there, Brandon. Loved having you on the Colorcast. Steeler Nation, you can join us on the Colorcast. If you got an Apple product, an iPhone, an iPad, download the Colorcast app. Brandon and I are the hosts on Mondays at 7 p.m., and we're going to do prizes. We're going to have big stars on there, giving away jerseys, and it's a tight-knit. It's like us talking in a room. So it's like with our favorite Steeler friends. So come over, try out the Colorcast app, and check out and download the Colorcast app from the Apple Store. Big part of that. And thank you. Yes, I will hopefully be recovered over the bye week as well to come back when the Steelers team is also ready to come back. Brian J. Cox over on the Facebook. Missed you Sunday. Have to try and get together for a drink or two the next times I get to the Berg. Yes, Steeler fan in Lebanon. Good to see you out here. He's also a big part of our Steeler Nation football forum, guys, and that's a free site over at SteelerNation.com. And that's where we get our questions for Steeler Nation. So I'm going to put up a thread here after this vidcast asking for questions for this week. And they come from right there from our Steeler Nation forum that Brian J. Cox is over, and he's a part of as well. So great to hear you. And then we'll see you soon, man. And I think you owe me 2 drinks now, since it's been like 2 times I haven't been able to have drinks with you. But I'll be getting with you soon. And man, was I really looking forward to last Sunday, because I had all day to spend with my friends, man. That would have been awesome to see you, Brian, and you too, Brandon, and just have a good time and hang out with the guys too for the sorry that they did a pregame podcast for High Low Sports Network over on Colorcast, and I was part of that while I was sick in bed as well. Brian J. Cox, I need to know how they knew to wait for overtime to play Renegade. Thank you very much, Brian, because I never knew when Renegade was actually played for that game. So it's amazing that they didn't play it in regulation because they were playing like crap in regulation. But that is great that they did play it. I guess they played it right there before the kickoff for overtime, it seemed like. So awesome. Now, the Steelers also have to start thinking about this too. Getting to a point of using timeouts in certain situations so they can play Renegade and get that crowd into a frenzy. That's something that has to be in the coaching, on the coaches' lists. So, because it can be worth that extra timeout to get that extra volume in those stands and incredible fans to help you get one more turnover or one more sack to give your offense the chance of winning that game. That's an excellent point, Brian. And thanks for sharing that too as well. Juan, hey, absolutely love the show. Wonderful job and answers. Great. Join us again next week. I'm here every Tuesday at 1 o'clock after the presser, and we talk about everything that Tomlin goes over on his presser as well. Rad Rob! Striker Bruce Arians did an in-depth national TV interview where he says that Art 2 and the Steelers lied about him retiring and that Mike Tomlin went along with the lie. LeBeau on record saying the same. I did not see these interviews. You have to link them to me. I'm very easy to find. I'm on the I'm at SN_Striker on Twitter, on Instagram, on Colorcast. But I'd love to read that stuff too, Rad Rob. So that would be an interesting thing that you can share with me if you can find these in-depth articles. That'd be pretty cool. Or you throw it up here in the chat box. Yeah, I'll check it out after the show in the chat box. Multiple times, Dick LeBeau publicly confirmed that he had not retired. The Steelers made up this lie, proof in pudding, and he continued coaching. Well, he doesn't hate the Steelers for it. He's still back in town. So there's that also. And also, these are coaching changes. These aren't Tomlin pushing people out the door, and Tomlin's not usually involved with that. This is Kevin Colbert decisions. So Kevin Colbert's got final say in personnel, and as well as the Rooneys. So, it comes down to that. I mean, I'm sure Tomlin does have some involvement as well. He's got to have some, at least for his coaching aspect. But all those guys, you're still telling me they were fired or they're knocked out. They weren't. They were at the end of their contracts. All those guys finished their contracts. Every single one of them, including Haley. So before they moved on, their contracts were up. They didn't fire any of those guys early. They didn't get rid of anybody early. They didn't run anybody out of town. Their contracts came up. They were done. It's time to move on. And they decided it was time to move on. And then, unfortunately, that's the way it went. So, Steeler Nation, thank you so much. I loved this conversation. It's probably my favorite conversation. So thank you for bringing my spirits up here in my sick bed with COVID-19, and getting to chat with you guys for an hour has been just a freaking blessing for me. So thank you, Rad Rob. Thank you, Chow Chow. Thank you, Brian, Juan, everybody, man. You just really lifted my spirits and helped me get through what's been a tough time. Like, I don't like being sick in bed, but this has been a really fun hour. And guys, come over to Steeler Nation and check out some of this cool gear. I want to show you this right now. These are our new shirts that are up from Pittsburgh Clothing Store. I mean, we're part of them now, and they are part of us. So Pittsburgh Clothing now does our shirts and did some great logos. I love the retro helmet logo. Get geared up for your podcast. I get geared up for my podcast. You get geared up for your tailgates. I'll see you at the tailgates. I'll make sure to see you. I'll sign your shirts. I don't care. That's freaking great. These things are awesome designs, and you can pick all your colors, all your sizes. They got plenty of things to choose from for any Steeler fans. We got women's, we got men's. So go on over there, SteelerNation.com on the apparel page. Be able to get suited up for the rest of the year. Follow Steeler Nation on Twitter at Steeler Nation, on Instagram at SteelerNation.com. You can follow them also on Facebook at SteelerNation.com, which you guys are all currently on these platforms right now. Follow me at the podcast at _SN Podcast on Twitter. We're Steeler Nation Podcast on Instagram. Or follow me on all my platforms at SN Striker, standing for Steeler Nation Striker spelled with Y. And that is on Twitter. It's on Instagram. And it's on Colorcast now, too. So I'll see you across those platforms, guys. Thanks a lot for really raising my spirits. I'm looking forward to our next chat coming up next week, and when we're going to have a game against Cleveland Browns. Let's root against the Brownies here on Thursday. And as always, I'll be rooting with you, Steeler Nation. Go Steelers!